Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon, good evening. Hope you're all doing well. Welcome to Mando Lessons Live. My name's Baron Collins Hill, and Typing Hazard has correctly pointed out that tune playing during the intro slide is not Billy in the Low Ground. It's Shove That Pig's Foot. I don't know why the slide changed, but it definitely did. It changed back. It used to be Billy in the Low Ground, but it's been quite a while. But apparently, I haven't fired up the computer in a while because I've been so busy, so maybe something reverted back to its old state. In any case, yes, that first tune was Shove That Pig's Foot a Little Further in the Fire. And that tune that I just played there was Dunagore. I'm not sure if I played that last time we all hung out or not, but I'm running very behind today. I'm amazed I am here at all at this point, but that's the tune that was at the top of my Handy Dandy Denise list, so that's what I played. I hope it was the right one. I didn't really have time to investigate further. But we have Jim, speaking of, Denise, James, Typing Hazard, Uncle Bobby, Dan's tune, Peter, and we're on. Great to have you all here and a bunch of other folks. If this is your first time here, let me know in the chat. We got a great community of regulars just waiting to nerd out about mandolins with you. I saw something here. Oh yeah, Peter says, hi from across the Willamette. Well, howdy neighbor. And or on says, still dark and chilly. Ooh, 25 degrees and windy in, I'm assuming, Anchorage, Alaska. Very fun. The familiar Ellis tone. Yeah, this thing got a workout. This is probably the biggest professional workout this mandolin has gotten since I've owned it anyway. I don't know about its previous life. But I spent all at the O'Flaherty's Irish Retreat in Texas teaching tunes. So, yeah, it was a great weekend, super fun. Got to hang with a lot of great folks and had a great little mandolin class. All right, let's see. Catch up with the chat here. And so the way I haven't done my little spiel yet. The way this works is it's an hour of Q&A. So if you've got a question, throw it out there. No questions too simple, no questions too advanced. It can be mandolin related or music related or tunes related or technique. It's all wide open. You can also request that I play a tune. And if I know how to play it and it's not copyrighted, I will oblige happily. All right, so let's see. James is checking in on the background. Nothing new on the banjo front. My pedal steel is packed up because it's going to go off to get a little bit of a spa day. So I had to put something back there. And at first it was a big black road case that has my pedal board in it, which also needs some work, and that didn't really look great on the camera. My room is a bit of a construction zone right now. It looks better now than it did yesterday, I should say. But I've been trying to fix up a bunch of old tenor banjos, and it got pretty wild in here. And normally it does not look this organized. And sometimes it does look this organized, but then just out of frame on every surface, things get really, really messy really quick. But you'll never know unless the camera droops. That's all an illusion that I'm a organized person. And says, glad you're back from the workshops. How was it? Are you almost Irish exhausted? No, I'm all fired up about Irish music now. Yeah, I came back all fired up. It was super nice. My first time. Really, really wonderful camp. Really well organized. If anyone's interested, definitely check it out. The O'Flaherty's Irish Retreat in Midlothian, Texas. My first time in Texas ever. And it was great. Just flip a little camera right there. We had like six mandolin students, and it was a lot of good time. Learned a whole bunch of tunes. There were a whole bunch of other great instructors there. Some I'd met before, some I had not. Yeah, and I'm just, I met a bunch of new friends, had a great time, and excited to just keep playing Irish music. I've been, yeah, that was sort of the end of my kind of busy streak, although things will undoubtedly stay busy somehow. I always think I'm at the end, and then other things pop up. But I'm excited to be back in Portland. I'll be not teaching. I'll be playing a lot at TC O'Leary's for anyone in the area or who happens to be coming through Portland, Oregon. It's a great little Irish pub, northeast Portland. I'll be there most of the time, most Sundays from 2 to 5 and Mondays 8 to 10 p.m. And playing tunes. So if you want to come by and hear some music, would love to see you. Come say hello for sure. And that's nice because that's just a nice little local gig. And yeah, last weekend I was in Texas. The weekend before that I was in Bellingham, Washington, about as far northwest as it gets in the contiguous 48. And I'm excited to be back. But I wouldn't say I'm Irish exhausted. I'm Irish fired up. I'm ready to go. We have Chris from the UK. T. Guthrie, first time here, beginner. Thanks for joining in. Jeff says, first time here, but followed a few of your lessons. Fairly new player in Texas. Awesome. Well, I was just hanging out in your part of the world. It was nice to finally get there. Oh, yeah. No, so that's what I just was talking about there. Jim says, what about the short little video I posted about the Irish group? Yep, that's the group that I play with on most. It's a little bit of a rotating cast, but on Monday nights in Northeast Portland, we all play there. And I'm there, I would say 75% of the time, if not more. And even if I'm not there, the music is top notch. And the folks are great. So definitely go, and I'll probably see you there. Jim says, the day before my daughter got married, the back of the church had organ pipes lying across pews. Well, yeah, that's the way things always kind of, oh, nice, you're in Austin. I've never made it to Austin. I'm getting discombobulated here. Yeah, things are always looking, this is to Jim, things are always looking a little more hectic right before things have to happen. Jeff says he's in Austin. I would love to make it to Austin. I've never been. I heard great things. That's where this mandolin and this mandolin came from. Hope to get them back to their hometown someday. I would love to see Tom's shop and all that sort of stuff. Did I take any other instruments along with me to Texas? I did not, because I was flying there. It's easy to just get a mandolin in the overhead. If I had my druthers, I would have brought a tenor banjo or the tenor guitar, bouzouki, something fun. But yeah, mandolin it was. Probably if I had all the space in the world, I probably would have brought a tenor banjo. There were a lot of amazing backing or accompanying musicians and instruments there. John Doyle was teaching guitar. What's his, oh no, I just had it. Brian from up in Minnesota, I don't know, I'm blanking on his last name, was teaching bouzouki. Jim DeWan was teaching, he was teaching mandolin and tenor banjo fundamentals, but also was a killer guitar player. Brian Miller, there we go, excellent bouzouki player who I've heard about for years but never met. Lots of good backers there, accompanists. So I would have just been, that's the thing with Irish music, is kind of one or two accompanists, and then things start getting a little muddy, which is fine in a big jam, but in general I like to bring a tenor banjo because there's always room for more melodies. Jeff says, which shop was that in Austin? So these mandolins were made by Tom Ellis down in Austin, Texas. James says the John Doyle guitar class would be something indeed. Yeah, he is an amazing teacher. He's super energetic. I've taught with him a couple times. He would often come to Acadia Trad School in Bar Harbor, Maine, for a number of years. And for all I know, he may be going back to that camp. Seems like it's getting rekindled a little bit, which is exciting to see. And then, yeah, we were both teaching at this camp in Texas. And he's an amazing teacher as well as an amazing musician, of course. What finger technique is used on tenor banjo? Great question. Let me grab a tenor banjo. So, tenor banjos can come in a variety of scale lengths, you know, the distance between the nut and the bridge. This one is quite short for a lot, and in general, you know, tenor banjos were traditionally tuned for a lot of kind of, you know, like New Orleans style jazz, and kind of early tenor banjo music that was getting played on them was C, G, D, A, like a viola. So it's like G, D, A, E capoed on the 5th fret. And so a lot of them were kind of shorter scale, and then, but the sort of what am I trying to say here? As the years went by, longer scale tenor banjos sort of became the norm. So this banjo is about as short as I've ever seen. Just gonna make sure it's in tune. So this banjo, so the long scale banjos, which in general I thought for many years, and still there's still something to it. The long scale tenor banjos are 23-inch scale nut to bridge. And because, you know, we're tuning not C, G, D, A, but a fourth below that, G, D, A, E, having any longer scale length is really going to be beneficial. Or else the instrument just gets a little floppy. You don't get as much kind of ping out of the instrument. I promise this is all related. If there's any of my class from Texas in the chat, they're probably rolling their eyes because boy did I go off on some tangents. But anyway, I promise it's all related. So for a long time I played 23-inch scale instruments because that sort of held up to the lower GDAE tuning for a long time. But then I kind of dialed things in. I've tried a bunch of different banjos. That's what I'm currently doing, is just like, you can find these banjos, not, if you keep an eye out, not inexpensive, or not super expensive, like, you know, 600 bucks maybe. If you keep an eye out, you might find one of those like once a year around like a good. So my favorite kind of model is the Vega Style M, which is a tubaphone tone ring, which is, let's see if I can get a picture. This one is also a tubaphone, just happens to be a different instrument. So that kind of circular metal ring on the inside is called a tubaphone tone ring. And Banjo Havoc. It's a really dense, really heavy tone ring, which adds a lot of kind of snap to the instrument. So if you have an instrument with a wooden tone ring, it's going to be much softer, which is, I love for, like, you know, 5-string banjo, really soft, warm, plunky tone. But on tenor banjo, you really want a lot of... you know, that really bright sound that's going to cut through a session is really important to me. So, with the combination of the really heavy tubaphone tone ring, a little bit of a resonator on the back to kind of project the sound back out forward in front of you, kind of counteracts this really short scale. So this instrument is under 20 inches, it's like maybe 19 3/4 inch scale length, which is, until I got this instrument a couple years ago, I was like, that's too short. I would never... like, I feel like no tenor banjo would ever sound that good, but I really love this tenor banjo. The problem is, they're kind of hard to, they're all the Vegas are pretty different. So like this one here, so this is a 19 3/4 inch scale, 10 3/4 inch head. This one is probably 20.5 or maybe 21 inch scale length. I haven't actually measured it yet. And it's got an 11.5 inch head, and all these variables, you know, they made 11.5, 11 and 13/16, 10 and 15/16. They were always changing things historically. Scale length, number of frets to the to the resonator, to the head of the instrument, all that sort of stuff kind of changes the sound. And this one I kind of stumbled across is about the smallest that I've seen, but it still really works really well for tenor banjo, or for Irish tenor banjo in that tuning. And it's nice. So this gets back to fingering, the original question. Ultimately, if you have a 23-inch scale instrument, I always historically played kind of guitar fingering, which is 2nd fret with the pointer finger, 4th fret with the ring finger, 5th fret with the pinky. But because this is so short, I can kind of do mandolin style fingering a lot of the time. And that's a little easier on my fingers, a little faster to kind of play across the instrument, especially for people coming from mandolin. So that's why I like this really small one. The problem is because they're all different, it's really kind of inconsistent. So I kind of want to start working on getting a tenor banjo, a mandolin player's friendly tenor banjo out into the world. And I've got some ideas scheming, but that's enough about that for now. Let's get back to the questions. All right. But yeah, ultimately, finger technique is on a short. It ultimately also depends on the size of your hands. Like whatever you can do comfortably, you can play most. Like if I'm playing guitar fingering, get this thing back in tune. I mean, back in focus. Like if I'm playing guitar fingering, what I might do is switch to mandolin fingering if I know I need to hit that B. So I would do guitar, guitar, mandolin, and then stretch a little bit on a long scale instrument. On the shorter one, I just stay in mandolin. Hey, we got Sherry, we got Betsy, we got Lewis, all sorts of folks. Glad you're here. Definitely better late than never. And Anne suggests Banish Misfortune on the banjo. I would be honored. I love that tune. Yeah. A little while. Sorry, my brain is so scattered I can't play a 3-part tune, but you get the idea. There's a little bit of really kind of Banish Misfortune that I did not do justice to. Need more coffee or whatever this is, tea. All right, James says I played a short scale tenor banjo in a shop and it was wonderful. Everything felt nice and easy under the fingers. Yeah, I started out playing 23-inch scale, kind of long scale tenor banjos, and I got used to it. And sometimes they're like, so I've got a 23-inch scale back in Maine, and I went back in August to teach at Maine Fiddle Camp. I really like they can be a little bit louder and a little bit more. They project a little more in a way that, when I was playing New England tunes in a group of like 30 or 40 people, that extra horsepower really kind of came in handy. But most of the time in an Irish session, or really, I would say most of the time, I'm not in sessions that big, so I don't need to project that much. So having this little guy is a little kind of quicker under the fingers. Everything falls nicely, as you said. But I think, the thing that really makes this work for me is the short scale tenor banjo really needs to be counteracted with, a lot of kind of density and snap coming out of the tone ring. Like, this is a pretty heavy banjo, even though it's shorter and smaller than most. And, I have this one, which is very similar. It's not quite as short, but the head is bigger. And I was like, oh, maybe the bigger head will give the G string a little more kind of something. But I don't think I like it quite as much. I'm not an expert banjo setter-upper, so, maybe there's things that could be done to dial these in. But I haven't found anything that I like as much as this. And I think, the larger head maybe can add a little bit more to the bass, but all the, the Irish tunes, 99% of Irish tunes don't use the G string, because whistles and pipes can't go that low, so a lot of traditional Irish music starts on the D string, so I think the G string on this works pretty well. But, ultimately, I spend most of my time not playing the G string just because that's where so many Irish tunes don't go. What's make of tenor? So this is a Vega style M, and it's like the headstock kind of torch inlay means it's kind of earlier. I think they switched from that inlay to. I don't have one with the other inlay here, but they have one that like says Vega and is a little more kind of like Art Deco, but way before Art Deco. So yeah, Vega style M has the tubaphone. Ooh, was Lewis was talking about Great Lakes? Did that happen over the last couple weeks, or is it gonna happen? Give us if you've just been to Great Lakes, Lewis. Definitely give us the report. Yeah. Denise has an awesome one. I still need to set. I have one similar that I need to like really get dialed in. Denise has a style R Vega, which is the White Lady tone ring, a different style. Yeah, and the short scale, I'm a big fan. Nice. Yep, the Gibson trapdoors are cool too. A lot of those are short scale and don't have a tone ring. I just got a trapdoor. You're seeing a window into my tenor banjo madness of the moment. I have a trapdoor, a 24 trapdoor, short scale, small head, and it doesn't have the ball bearing tone ring, which is like super heavy duty, but it's got this sort of like proto ball bearing tone ring. I don't know that it's gonna be my style of banjo. Ultimately, like I've spent the last like 15 years maybe just like trying every banjo I can get my hands on, finding them cheap, keeping alert set on eBay and Reverb, finding a lot like around $500, just to like try everything out, find the thing. And so far, this one is the one that's really sticking with me. I would love to find a way to put out banjos like this into the world without people having to go to the depths that I do of, finding cheap ones and then spending money to like get them actually playable, and then doing all of the work themselves. So I want this model to come back. So that's what I'm currently working on. Let's see. Yes, flat pick with the tenor banjo rather than finger picked. Any tips to improve the volume of my hammer-ons? Great question. Okay, back to the mandolin. So, with hammer-ons, I always associate it with like pouring water out of a big pot of boiling water in, like maybe your kettle broke and you need to boil water on the stove just in a pot. So you got to do that move where you tip the water into the cup. And if you go too slow, it's just going to dribble down the side and make a mess. And if you go too fast, you're going to pour water all over the counter and all over your hands, and it's a bad time. And there's a nice happy medium where you have like the confidence of like, here it goes, got to start out quick but not too fast. You get that perfect pour, you get that cup of tea. And it's the same idea tangentially with hammer-ons. Like if you play too slowly, if you hammer, I'm gonna hammer on from the open D string to the E 2nd fret. If I hammer on too slowly, the note just gets choked away. And if I go too hard, A, it's just hard on my left hand, and B, it might like pull things out of tune. But somewhere in the middle there is, you know, just the right amount of confidence and snap in your fingers. So that's a great exercise. So doing that sort of thing, you know, walking up every finger to the next finger, really working on getting that snap and sort of confidence of like, here's the note that needs to happen. Listen to it, create an exercise out of it, and then build it back into your actual tunes that you're putting hammer-ons in. I just saw a super chat, so I almost said to put your super chats in. Thank you, Andrew, for the super chat. Appreciate it. Appreciate all the ways folks support me and allow me to do these lessons and these live streams. Whether there's a ton of people who support me on Patreon here in the chat, greatly appreciated. There's always the super chats. There's PayPal donations. None of it's required, but it's all greatly appreciated and literally is the only way that I'm able to do this sort of stuff. So thank you all so much. And thank you, Andrew, for the super chat. Adele, good to have you here. Cold Frosty Morning. Great tune. Wrong key. I'll do it once through. It's kind of nice. I'm doing it in D minor. On accident. Just down one string. There we go. Alright, there we go. All right, let's see. Lewis says Great Lakes was awesome 3 weeks ago. Met Hayes Griffin, Mike Compton, and Todd Phillips. Joe K. Walsh was there as well. Couldn't have asked for better instructors. That is a well-stacked mandolin group. I wish I could have been there. Maybe some year I'll try to make it out. Awesome. And it says Tenor Banjo Madness. New band with Jerry O'Connor, Seamus Egan, and Barron. I would join that band in a second. Sounds great to me. Nice. Mike and Joe Newbery did a set. I love what they do together. It's a killer duo. James has been seeing a lot of videos from the IBMA show recently. Have you ever been? I've never been to IBMA. I would go. I'm kind of out of touch with a lot of the bluegrass stuff, but I love playing it. I don't feel like I haven't been focusing on that part of my music a lot in the last 10 years, but would love to. Seems like a good time. Or same thing with NAMM, never been to NAMM. Would love to, just because I'm an instrument geek, but never been. Oh, nice. James says, oh yeah, so my interesting fact, I think that he was at IBMA. So Peter Rowan and Molly Tuttle, little stammer there. I think my friend Max Wareham, who is one of my big musical buddies, we went to college together, is playing in Peter's band. He plays guitar and he plays everything really, but he's playing banjo in Peter's group. I think he was at IBMA when Peter got his, what was it, like Bluegrass Hall of Fame or Lifetime Achievement Award or something. But yeah, it's great to see Max out there doing what he does best. Also for the bluegrass banjo nerds out there, Max just put out a book on Rudy Lyle, who was an early bluegrass boy for a short period of time and really influential to Earl Scruggs. And, you know, he's kind of an unsung hero of the bluegrass 5-string banjo. And Max Wareham just put out a book. That seems cool. I haven't seen it yet, but would love to check it out. I don't know anything about playing 5-string bluegrass banjo, so... Well, I think I am caught up with the chat here, which just doesn't happen often. But if you got more questions or if I missed anything, definitely throw it out there. I'll play a tune here. I'll play the other Cold Frosty Morning. I'm blanking on the fiddler's name that this came from. Melvin Wine, I believe. It's Melvin Wine's Cold Frosty Morning. A major. Different tune, also called Cold Frosty Morning. I've also heard that first tune, the classic Cold Frosty Morning, is actually just called Frosty Morning. but I don't know enough to be sure myself. And it seems like at this point, everybody calls it cold frosty morning, so maybe that's where it's going to get stuck. But time will tell. All right. James says he signed up for a fiddle lick workshop with Bronwyn, Keith Hines, amazing fiddle player, past week. She won Fiddle Player of the Year for a second time running, I believe. I think that is true. Lewis says leaf raking season. So I'll see you patrons tomorrow. Yes. So anyone who supports me on Patreon at $5 a month or more, we have a patron-only live stream. It happens once a month, and tomorrow is the day. So see all you patrons there. Have fun with the leaves, Lewis. Make sure to jump into them, and see you tomorrow. And Cherry says it's wood stacking and chopping for me. Yep. Moving to Portland, Oregon, moving to the big city. I don't have to do much of either of those. I grew up stacking and chopping a lot of wood and hauling a lot of leaves around, but city life doesn't have quite as much. A little bit. Let's see. Play an Irish tune here. If I can think of one. Oh, 10 points to whoever can actually remember the name of that tune, because I can't. It's something classic. It's not the Cliffs of Moher, I don't think. Yeah, so if anyone knows the name of that tune, that would be great. Ooh, a little Jaspod's Polska. Yeah, I'll do that. Maybe I'll get a big instrument to play it on. Is this thing in tune? Nope. This is a work in progress. I've been working on different strings and stuff with this, but let me see if I can get this thing in tune for a little Green's Hans Jaspod. Oh, right. This is kind of a work in progress. I was messing around with amplifying this thing, and I have this, see if I can get it better in shot. So my E strings are a little funky right now because I put this kind of under bridge pickup under there, but it did something to my E string. So, but I'll make it work. If I just play it, it'll work. Maybe I'll play it in C. So this tune, interestingly enough, there is reason that one could play it in C. I learned this tune initially from Andy Cutting, a great English button accordion player, and he learned it, I think, from some Swedes as C-E-G, as in like C or G, as in you could play it in C or G, or C and G maybe. I don't speak enough Swedish to. So I'll play it in C because that'll avoid this kind of wonky E string because of that pickup. So there's a little bit of Greenshans Jaspads Polska. Oh, and Jim has some good Swedish knowledge. Eller is E-L-L-E-R is Swedish for or. Good knowledge. Michael says, are you still doing private lessons? I am, just kind of not all the time. So the way I've been doing it, and I do want to do some probably before the first of the year. So I have a website or a page for teaching private lessons through. It's lessonface.com/MandoLessons. I think there's probably a link in the description of this video. And the way I do that, I kind of open up a bunch of slots when I have time. And because it's been the summer, I have not had any time. But now I'm back and I love doing private lessons. So if you're interested in knowing about when private lesson slots open up, you have a couple different options. The first place I always post about new lesson slots opening up is Patreon. So I'll let patrons know first, so they get first crack at the limited slots that I open up. And then I always email my mailing list, which again, there should be a link in the description, or it's mandolessons.substack.com, SUBSTACK. And so I'll email the mailing list, let them know, and then maybe I'll post about it on social media and other things like that. But that's sort of the way things pop, kind of get notified is in that order. And I do want to do some maybe in November. I'll try to. Oh, it's almost November. Oh my goodness. I was going to say, oh yeah, way off in the future in November. I'll have time. November is on Tuesday. Yeah, maybe I'll try to get my act together and do some more private streams, or private lessons, because that would be super fun. Do you use different picks for picking and strumming? No, I use different picks depending on the instrument. And some of those picks are sort of because I do more strumming. So, what's a good way to describe this? So I think what I do is I find an instrument, like pick up this instrument. When I first got this, back in the spring, I was like, okay, what am I going to use? And I just kind of go through a bunch of different picks. So like here's a really thin one. Versus this really fat one. So for this instrument, because I'm thinking of it a little more melodically, and I want that deep, warm sound, and I'm not doing a whole lot of like strumming straight through all the strings at once, I use a nice thick pick. We'll probably do more like cross-picking with it. Whereas a similarly tuned instrument something like this Cittern, also 10 strings, but instead of C, G, D, A, E, it's D, G, D, A, D. Oh my goodness, this is going to be really out of tune, but I'll do it anyway. Wow. We turned on the heat in the house and everything jumped up about a half step. So on this instrument, I like to use the thin pick, partly because I think of this as more of an instrument for playing accompaniment. So even when I'm playing melodies like that Coleman's March, I'm adding a lot of drone strings to it. So it's a combination of like the sound that I like coming out of the instrument and like the function that the instrument has for me. Like I could play this instrument with a big fat pick and it would sound like this. But I really like kind of the sparkle of versus a little duller sounding. So yeah, you know, I think it's a good, and that can go for mandolin, any instrument really. Like, it's not a bad investment to get a handful of different picks and different shapes and sizes. You don't need to get anything, you know, super fancy or super expensive. You know, I think the most important things are like find a shape you like, find a thickness you like, find a sound you like, and then once you have that narrowed down, like, oh, on mandolin I really like these large triangle, kind of stiff, 1.5 millimeter, big triangle. That's what I like on such and such, like on whatever instrument it is. Find that, and then say, okay, within the realm of large triangle 1.5 millimeter picks, like what are my options? If you want to go down that rabbit hole, great. Like then you can say, okay, now maybe I'll shell out for a $35 blue chip or a $10 Wiegand or a Wagon. I'm not sure how to say it. Or like these are prime tones. They're just you know, they're a couple bucks a piece, and I personally can't tell them apart from blue chips, so I use them. Other people feel differently, and I don't doubt it for a second. You just got to figure out what works for you. But you know, rather than buying, you know, $300 worth of blue chips in a bunch of different shapes and sizes and thicknesses, you know, go for the cheap stuff first, and then see what realm you enjoy of those picks, and then start messing with pick material. Almost reminds me of Sam Brown Hill. Maybe a little Maine Public Radio influence today. I at least can't pull up the reference of Sam Brown Hill. It doesn't ring a bell, but I listened to a lot of Maine Public Radio back in the day. Sam Brown Hill. I can't pull up that reference, but maybe it's just deep enough in my lizard brain that I can't get it out. Spent a lot of time listening to like the Thistle and Shamrock, the Fiona Ritchie kind of Celtic music night growing up. James says our heating broke, so I've had the opposite problem. Yeah, it's whenever the seasons change, our instruments get a little persnickety. All right, well, we are about out of time here. Thank you all so much for tuning in and hanging out for the hour. Great questions. As a reminder, patrons, tomorrow at 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern, we've got our patron-only live stream. If you want more information on that and you're not a patron, patreon.com/MandoLessons. It's kind of like this, except rather than 30 to 50 people in the chat, we usually have half a dozen to a dozen. And it's much more chill. We can go in depth on things. Yeah. Swampykins says, thanks for the stream. Thanks for tuning in. Yeah, and thank everyone for the super chats, the PayPal donations, the Patreon support. Literally couldn't do it without you, so really appreciate it. And you all have a good rest of your weekend. Don't put the mandolin down just because the stream is over. Keep on picking. Oh, he never did a jam along. Well, next time. We're out of time and I got a busy day, so sorry about that. But maybe next time I'll confer with Denise and see if it is it Dunagore? Did we not? Yeah, I'll talk to Denise about whether we were supposed to do Dunagore today or not. That might be the tune for next week. Yeah, let's just call it now. Maybe, because I think, I really can't remember. If we just did Dunagore, we'll do something else. We'll pick something classic that people have already heard of anyway, if it's not Dunagore. And if it is Dunagore, learn Dunagore. It's a great tune. All right. Thank you all so much. Have a great rest of your weekend. See you soon. Bye-bye.